This is Infection, the survival podcast, recorded live on Wednesday, October 13th, 2021, episode 352. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome into another edition of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. My name is Nick Craig. You can find me on various social media platforms by visiting my website, nickcraig.net. If you'd like to check out my daily political rantings, you can search for the Wilmington's Morning News Podcast in any podcast app. And of course, our illustrious website, infectionpodcast.com. Well, even though the day of the week is different, it's the same bat show. Joining me, as he does each and every normally Tuesday, is Brian with an I, Aldridge. Hello, Brian. How are you?
Hello, and I've managed to stumble my way in here again. So if you want to find me at Brian Aldridge on Gab and Parler, if you want to go check my blog, biteoftech.com. And as Nick said, just go to infectionpodcast.com and look on the right-hand side and join our server on Discord. If you haven't already, that's a great way to communicate with the show, submit topics that you think we should be covering. If you think we should be playing a game that we're not playing, jump in and suggest it. We've had people jump in and say, hey, you should play this game. And then like tons of people are playing it. Oh, is it? I'm not hearing you. I don't know why.
I'm not.
There we go. Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
but so if you think you have a game that we should be playing and we're not, jump in, suggest it. Cause we've had it where people have played Rust. I mean, tons of games where, we didn't realize that they were so much fun. So if you think that's possible, go ahead. A lot of people are playing, and we'll be talking about it a little bit today, but New World, which is pretty cool. So if you're interested in playing some New World with the podcast, I bet you there's a lot of people. I know there's some servers people are playing on, but it might be a good opportunity to jump in and join the same servers as some of the other people. Other than that, if you want to get our video forms of the podcast, you can do that through Twitch, YouTube, BitChute, and DLive. And in the lower right hand side, we got all the audio forms. So you can click whatever per particular platform or device, whatever it is you want to listen on, you can do that. And there's lots of links for various things to use there. On the upper left, you just click on the particular episode that you want to listen to. And if you follow along, you can listen or you can watch. And we've got links for videos, files, anything that we reference throughout the show. We put a link to that in there so you can follow along and see all the sources that we're using. So that might help you out, especially if you're listening. If you want to support us, go to the top. There's a support tab. There's infectionpodcast.com/support. We've got Prime Gaming subs. We got Subscribestar. We've got Humble Bundle, Amazon. Lots of ways you can support us. And we're all looking forward to a way that we can spend the funds that we've gotten so far, hopefully at a convention in the coming year if the COVID restrictions go down a little bit. So we will see. We did have a good time in Vegas, so I'm still recovering from that, I think.
Yes, we did. I want to thank our friend Unicorn Joe, who hit us up with the 44-month resubscription here before the program started. Joe, thank you very much. Appreciate it as always. Thanks for always being here and posting stuff in the Discord. Well, Brian, just to start off, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it, but I did upgrade to Windows 11 last week.
And we're still on the air.
Yep, so very much on the air. Did it Wednesday afternoon. Obviously, it came out last Tuesday, but unlike the QQ chat install, I decided not to do that right before an episode of Infection Podcast. We saw what kind of disaster that was, changing my system language to Chinese. It was a real mess.
Oh, that was perfect.
So did the upgrade. Everything's running well for individuals that might be hesitant. I've got a pretty complicated setup here with virtual audio, the video software that we use. I have had zero problems since the upgrade. Good. So would encourage individuals.
So do you think that they've broken the every other version curse?
Yes.
With this one?
Because it's just Windows 10. It just looks different.
Well, they supposedly said they weren't coming out with any more versions of Windows than they throw out version 11.
Yeah, but they said that they weren't doing that after 10, but here we are. So yeah, I mean, my my network attached printers worked, my shared drives worked. I've got like this Java program that we use for the if you watch on YouTube, the time codes, all of that stuff just works, and there's been no issues with it at all. So if you're looking for maybe a fun little project, I'd recommend you go ahead and update. I as long as you've got a TPM 2.0 compatible motherboard, CPU, or a standalone daughter board, you're in business and you can go ahead and upgrade. So
now it was saying my CPU is not compatible. It won't even take my CPU.
It's not supported. It will run. It just is not.
It'll run, but it's not optimized for it. Is that pretty much?
It's just they didn't
test it.
They didn't certify it or whatever you would.
Okay.
Use
because there's a big list of processors and there's a lot of modern ones on there, so I was kind of surprised.
Well, yours is not.
I figured it might work.
Yours is not very modern, right? You're running an FX series.
Well, but I'm saying in the list of ones that they said they weren't, there was a decent number of within the last 7 years, 6 years, that are on that list of unsupported. So as long as they run, and then I have TPM chips around here somewhere. I just got to find where they're little things, but I got to find one and then toss it in here and maybe try upgrading a system and see how it works.
I don't want to do too much tech talk, but I think it is relevant to note I'm very happy with the fact that Microsoft has put some of these relatively newer technologies as required to upgrade to Windows 11. I think some of the biggest issues we see with Windows, just from the lifespan of Windows, is them always trying to deal with the lowest common denominator, which is the slowest, the oldest computer, making sure that can run the most recent version of Windows. And for, probably everybody listening to this program, you would be defined as a power. If you have a standalone GPU in your computer, you're a power user. We don't worry about stuff like that. But when Microsoft makes decisions for the lowest common denominator, like individuals that have old laptops and old desktops that go, oh man, I don't have TPM, I can't upgrade. Well, then get a new damn computer.
Yeah, or just don't upgrade for a bit. Makes me wonder when they're going to fade out Windows 10. Yeah, because they'll probably have to release something. Because they're going to have to do something. Because they can't just expect everybody to get TPM chips on every single system.
No, and most don't support it. And most won't support it. So that's what I'm saying. You've got until
if it's not built into a laptop, you're not going to have it. If most motherboards, if they're not decent motherboards, a lot of times they don't have a place to put the chip.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see how they deal with it. But it is a better thing in the end.
It is, because I think it'll make the operating system better. It'll make it more stable. And I think, for power users, it makes us, it puts us on a better playing field. Yes, I know that there's a chip shortage, but you can go out. The chip shortage is obviously specific. GPUs are the hard thing to get. You can get processors.
Yeah.
That's not the issue. So yeah,
all right.
Windows 11, I'd recommend you check it out.
I will do that. And it's good to know that it actually runs and not everything is broken after you install it.
Not a single thing, which is crazy.
All right. So in the past week, there was a major breach at Twitch. Mm-hmm. And one thing that was kind of surprising is they got the source code for Twitch, all the source code for Twitch, plus all the future things for Twitch. The things that they're currently working on for Twitch are included in the source code that they got. So all the new features that are getting ready to come out, they got all of the streamers' payouts. So they figured out exactly how much these top streamers make, which,
I've seen some
more privacy.
I've seen some conflicting reports on that. I've seen a couple of smaller Twitch streamers that when that leaked, they're like, oh, damn, based on the Twitch payouts, I should have made a couple extra $100,000. Hey, Twitch, where's my money? So I don't know if that was the internal
they may be
calculation.
Looking at taxes. Yeah. There may be taxes that for them, they had to pay. And so they're calculating it in the cost, things like that. That the streamer's like, oh, I never saw that. Well, they probably pulled the taxes and you never saw that check.
Yeah, taxes and just kind of how Twitch struck. That may have been the money that that Twitch would have paid the streamer. That might have been before their cut and some of those other things. I don't know how they do all that stuff on the back end. But yeah, a pretty significant breach. I'll ask you this, Brian. How? Where did they get this info? Is there any idea where they got this information from?
I don't know. I haven't seen exactly. I haven't seen exactly how they did it, and I'm kind of. I've got multiple articles here, but none of them that I've seen have really detailed the specifics of how they got in.
Inside job.
They possibly. I mean, according one of these articles was talking about how security analysts are looking at this and they're saying this hack was as bad as it could be. usually when there's any forms of security up, you can't quite get everything because there's something that stops you somewhere.
Yeah.
Somehow with these guys, everything, everything was accessed. They went in, they got all their source code, they got all the what the streamers make. They figured out that there is a client that's a Steam-like client that Twitch is working on called codename Vapor that's currently being worked on. Twitch, according to them, they're still trying to figure out what's going on, what happened. They're doing an internal investigation. I'm assuming it's going to take a little while because it's been a week or so. I think they're still trying to figure out through the logs and everything else how they got in and how they accessed everything. They got 125 gigs of the most sensitive data in Twitch.
That's a lot of data.
And they didn't trip a single alarm. That's why, if it is an inside job, that would be the indicator, because how do you get past an Amazon company, right, without tripping a single alarm and taking everything?
Well, how do you get the source? I mean, the source code is not something, if for example, getting streamer payouts and things like that, not saying that that's common, but that is likely stored in a database, right? And you can find access to a database. Maybe there's a way into the database, something of that nature. But to get the source code for the platform itself, that requires that's a whole nother level of thing. Like the source code is likely stored on some sort of internal, Git repository or something like that, some sort of revisioning system that they use for developing. That's pretty deep. Like that's not you could say the streamer payouts, that could have all been in an Excel spreadsheet. I know it wasn't, but you could have hypothetically said it was in an Excel spreadsheet that somebody left somewhere on a public AWS instance and somebody got it. Makes sense. But source code is a whole nother ballpark.
Do you think that maybe somebody got an employee's laptop? One of the developers' laptops?
It's possible. Leave it at a bar, leave it in an Uber, leave it on a public transit, a train or something like that. I mean, it's not impossible, but the question would be, like, for example, I mean, I work at a company that is, it's a large media company, but if you're going to log into a service, especially from a new IP address, it's going to, at least I always get prompted for 2-factor when I log in, if I log in from a different location or something like that.
The only reason that I'm wondering if it's like a laptop or something is someone has a synced copy of the source code on their computer. Because I'm trying to think of how. True. Yeah, I'm trying to think of exactly like you. How did they get past the 2-factor? How did they get past all of these steps that you normally would take to get to that code? Because you can't just say, I'm going to go get Twitch's code and, with one password get in. I mean, I can't imagine them having a repository that doesn't have more steps of authentication to get in there.
Josh
normally you have to be on a VPN, all kinds of things.
Josh in the chat says, with a lot of people working from home with COVID, I assume an unsecured network was the cause. That was my gut impression too.
Yeah.
But that still doesn't explain what you just brought up, Brian, is even an unsecured network, there's still some sort of Active Directory authentication for them to have access to all of these data. I just cannot imagine this was I don't necessarily think it was a hack. I think this may have been it may have been, like you said, a laptop or a device that was left somewhere that had local files. Because that, I mean, in that case, you're talking about literally having access to somebody's phone and laptop.
Yeah,
potentially.
So that's been kind of my deal. It's just a very odd thing, especially with a company like this that should have so many security things set in place.
Well, and I'm sure they do, but at the end of the day, if you've got a user storing data on a local device, Brian, security is moot. Unless they're running BitLocker on the computer or something like that, you can boot into an Ubuntu Live CD or something like that,
and get the files.
Windows 10, get past the Windows 10 login, and you've got full access. So, the security is great until you bring it on a local device or something. And that's just the.
My only thing is the only thing that's a little confusing is it's like two different areas they got, and that's the only reason I'm kind of hesitant towards laptop. The fact that they got all the payouts, how did they access that? Maybe if they got into somebody's laptop, if they got access to somebody's laptop, they could have done some sort of database query or something. But they'd have to have been logged in. It's a very odd situation. So I'm waiting for information on how in the world this happened, because right now there's no clear answer of, oh, this was an outside hack, because it's such conflicting data. It's usually when people get into a system one way, there's indicators. There's certain types of data they got. There's certain amounts of data they got. And this one just kind of breaks a few of those natural, things that happen on a regular basis. So I don't know. But with this,
could it have also
I don't
been
think it really. People should change their passwords. That's one thing they should do.
Could it also have been a
keys.
A phishing attack? Could this have been a targeted phishing attack at somebody?
The only thing that makes me wonder is still two-factor authentication should have happened. Like,
true.
Two-factor authentication is only so effective when you have good 2FA in it.
Yeah.
So it's still weird. It's just nothing quite links up exactly the same.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it's so many different. It's data that should not realistically being. It's data that should not be available in the same place that became. I mean, they're not hosting the Twitch source code on a networked mapped drive, right? That's stored somewhere in a repository, some sort of revisioning system. I can't imagine
here, actually,
payouts would also be in there.
I just found an update from Twitch, which says, May gives a little bit of input into what happened.
What you got?
It says, we have learned that some data was exposed to the internet due to an error in Twitch server configuration change that was subsequently accessed by a malicious third party. Our teams are working with urgency to investigate the incident. As the incident is ongoing, we're still in the process of understanding the impact in detail. So that was the one day, but then after that, then they said, change all your passwords. So that's what they're claiming. That's the only indication I've seen of what they're saying. There's no indication that login credentials were exposed. Credit cards are not stored on Twitch, so no full credit card numbers were exposed.
Well, then this is the old.
So it sounds like a configuration detail or change.
Well, this is the old adage. We've seen it we've seen it a whole bunch of times. Is where individuals, it's not the same, but they have an AWS bucket that's publicly accessible, that's got unrestricted data on it, and all it takes is somebody to find the link, for lack of a better term, to that bucket, and they've got it. So yeah, something that was supposed to be private and hidden and probably required authentication was not, and through
whatever means they got it.
Through digging through the network, they were able to get it, and yeah. Well,
that's a pretty big mistake by somebody.
So what is Twitch recommending you do?
They say if you change your stream keys, so that's the main thing they're saying. Change your stream keys, probably because those got released, or and those are at least access. So people could start streaming on random people's channels.
Well, maybe somebody will stream on our channel and get us some viewers.
But maybe they'll give us, maybe they'll get subs. As long as they keep our subs, we're good.
Yeah.
As long as we don't get banned, they can stream whatever they want.
Yeah, I mean,
bingo, boom, shakalaka.
What are you gonna do? Thank you, USAF Zombie, who hit us up with the 12 monthly subscription here on Twitch. Thank you very much, sir. It is greatly appreciated. Hope you are doing well. All right, well, there you go. Twitch.
Yep. All right, so I have been able to play New World this past week.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. I'll be back in about 40 minutes. Enjoy.
Yeah. So I found out with that because remember I had reset my PC when I moved it in here. So there was an application for my video card that kind of just gets the settings and adjusts them when it needs to. I installed that program and now I can run everything on like the top settings. Really weird. Where before it was shutting down my computer. So it's something about my CPU or my video card was probably not turning on a fan or something and just overheating instantly.
Overheating.
Weird. Doesn't make any sense. I installed that. I kept testing by like upping one setting at a time. And I finally got to where I upped every setting to max to very high and every setting to top. And it all started working. So I've been playing a little bit. I got, I think 10 hours in total. I haven't been playing a ton, but a little bit here and there. If you look at Steam, it currently has a mostly positive rating, which is pretty good, especially for something that's brand new. Oh, here's Tag. Hello, Tag. He's still looking for Tag with the Tag. He says, "I still can't find that leave Discord button."
Well,
It's an inside joke from Vegas.
yes, a joke from Vegas that he'll never come back after that.
Yeah, so 19 months in a row, and he's still coming back, so we didn't scare him off. So welcome back.
That is a very good thing.
Usually with something like this, especially when they had 900,000 concurrent, everything possible that could have made this thing break, and they didn't. And so I think that's pretty good. They got mostly positive. I've enjoyed it. I'm just from a personal, the gameplay, to give you an idea of what really matters in a game like this is you look at the quests and you look at kind of how it uses your time. Do you hit a point where I played, what was that game we played a little while ago? We played that Lance really loves. We played it a while ago. It's an MMO.
Planet Star?
Something online. But it's one that you played for a little bit. It's got like the kind of the lion looking guys or tiger looking people.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
We played a little bit. But Lance was playing it, and it was an MMO, and just like the quest didn't naturally, you didn't feel like you were being drawn anywhere, and it didn't feel
Talking
natural
about
to me.
EverQuest?
Especially after. No. This one is like
Rend?
no,
Guild
this
Wars?
is it's an MMO. It's a Guild Wars.
Oh,
Guild Wars
okay.
Online. Is that what it was?
I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Guild Wars. Thank you, Falcon. Or no, it's Elder Scrolls. I take that. Not Guild Wars. I've never played Guild
Well,
Wars.
I never played Elder Scrolls. So
I thought you played that with us.
I did. I played Guild Wars.
Maybe it was Guild Wars then.
Yeah.
Okay, Guild Wars. So Guild Wars is the one that has those lion people, right?
Yeah. I get. Yeah.
It's something like
we'll
that.
go with that. Yeah.
and with that, like I was in a zone. And it's like, where do I go next? Like that was kind of frustrating, where you didn't feel like there was something drawing you to the next place. This one, what's nice is there's just constant. And they are releasing a new EverQuest, expansion 30 something, who knows? They are releasing a new EverQuest expansion here this month. So if you're looking forward to that, that'll be great. But it felt very natural for this one, going from quest to quest and zone to zone. And I really like that because that was what I was worried that for the questing parts, they weren't going to get. For this, I feel like there's a lot to do, and I'm trying to figure out like what's priority because I just don't know the game as well as other people's. As other people, because I've just barely been playing it. It's barely, I played a lot of WoW, so all the things I look at are WoW things. But the gameplay is really good. The graphics are good. I haven't had, other than the issues I had that were my system issues, I haven't had any real issues with the game. Yes, Char. Thank you, Falcon. That's the Char race. But this right here, it's been a lot of fun. I've been trying not to just go crazy in it, but a lot of people in our that listen to the podcast have been playing it and enjoying it. They're still playing it, so they haven't been leaving, after a week or so, and people seem to be sticking with it. You showed the current players is 700 something thousand for the week, so that's not that bad. From week 1, 900,000, they're down 170,000 for their peak, but that's not crazy.
No, because I just updated this. When we did the show, 8 days ago, last Tuesday, there was like 620,000 people playing. There's currently 469,000 playing.
Oh, the current.
Yeah, the 24-hour peak is 521,000. The 7-day peak 527,000. So yeah, they're still holding in there in terms of the overall games that are currently being played on Steam. Brian, still very much in the top spot. The second closest game, of course, CS:GO, with just over 300,000 players, and then Dota 2, Destiny, TF2, Apex, Rust, and Rust, which is the 7th game on here, has 58,000. So from 1 to 7 is nearly a 400,000 player difference, and that just goes to show you, well, first of all, how many freaking games are on Steam, but second of all, how many people are truly playing this game, as their 7-day peak is still is very close to 750,000.
Well, and most big MMOs are not on Steam, so you don't get to see the player counts. And this is one of the first ones. You look at WoW. I bet WoW is not having great player counts right now.
I bet you they haven't had great player counts for years, but we nobody would ever know.
Well, they'll get expansions, they'll get something, and they'll jump up for a while, and then they fade away. That's what I was hoping was not going to happen with this.
We talking 100,000 people, or talking about 700,000 people? Like, I just have no idea what those WoW numbers are.
Yeah, I'm talking about it goes from 700,000 people down to they don't really release their numbers. So I don't want to guess too much, but I'm talking like an eighth of the players from the beginning to the end. When expansion releases, where you go a month later, 2 months later, it's down to an eighth of the numbers. So that's my concern with this. I don't want that to happen with this. And I like the fact I just canceled because it was getting ready to renew my WoW subscription. I just canceled it. The beauty of this is there's no subscription fee. So people can continue playing it. They just need to purchase it. And when they want to play it, they can. I think that's the downside of WoW is a lot of people, either you're paying $15 a month, and you play it and then you usually don't end up playing it. And then when you want to, it's like, I have to start a subscription again. This you can just jump in and play. One thing they're doing this week.
Before you get into that, because I do want to ask you this as a long-term MMO player, do you think the days of paying for in the era of I'm going to use the word microtransactions, but in the era of microtransactions, do you think the days of MMO subscriptions are dead, or is that something that
yes, I do. I think WoW is going to have to drop it because to maintain their player numbers. They already make you pay for expansions. They make you pay the same price as this game, at least. Actually, more. This game is way cheaper.
$40, right?
It's and they're like $60 for the DLC, the deluxe edition, or something like that. It's like $20 more for the deluxe.
$49. It's $50 and $40 for the two different versions of New World.
Oh, okay. So it's $10 difference. I mean, you look at that,
which is not normal. It's normally $20. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, every expansion costs that in WoW, and then you're paying $15 a month every time if you want to play the thing. That is insane. And I think if you get a competitor like this, has WoW had a competitor before this? Can you think of one, real one?
Well, Guild Wars and stuff like that were popular,
but it's never been a competitor. There's people playing it in other countries. I think you have a lot of other countries, which kind of bring up their numbers. I don't know how many servers they have, but I still don't view that as a strong competitor to WoW.
I want to go
with the player numbers.
I want to go back, Brian, to my Sega Dreamcast at my grandparents' house and playing Phantasy Star Online, the first MMO and probably the only MMO that I actually played for any significant period of time. Phantasy Star Online on the Sega Dreamcast. That's heyday. That's MMO. When I think MMOs, that's what I'm thinking. RuneScape.
See,
that's obviously everybody jokes about RuneScape, but I mean it's a much more watered down MMO, but a very popular MMO that has always been free from what I remember. And that has had a huge, I'm not sure if it still does, player base.
Well, and that's been kind of the thing. I think Blizzard and WoW has gotten away with this for so long because there's never been anybody who's a real competitor to where they've been worried. And I think with all we'll see how much time we have today, but we've got some information on like that whole thing that happened with Blizzard. That for them is just an indicator that they need to be worried because they've already had tons of people dropping because of just various issues and people not being happy. People always drop because they're not, they get tired of the DLCs. It's the same thing a lot of times. I think that this is the first time where there is something else that can actually take the title and walk with it. Okay. I think WoW is down. I think the count is going for them, and their response to this, I think, is going to be an indicator of whether or not they come out and continue to be the top MMO. If they continue to put money into this and time and it continues on this path, I could see this as a very big competitor and possibly something that makes WoW actually change their subscription fees or make it to where their DLCs no longer cost money.
So there's this website. I have no idea if it's accurate or not. It's called activeplayer.io. They're estimating that there's currently about 59,000 people right this second playing World of Warcraft, which is low. They estimate, they say average monthly players.
Okay.
I take that to be average monthly payers, right? That's how I'm. It
has to be if you're playing. Well, they do have a free to play. They do have a free tier, but it's like you go to level 20 or something.
But
it's just
people,
not real.
When I think of, so they're estimating that there's about 6 million people that are averagely playing a month of World of Warcraft. I have no idea to know if that's accurate or not. That seems very high for where we are right now.
For what? Sorry, what'd you say the numbers again?
I think that. They're estimating an average of 6 million active monthly players. But again, I don't know how like for example, you've been paying for your WoW subscription
those are subscribers.
How long? Well, yeah, that's my question.
Yeah, but I mean, this one's been going for years. This one until I canceled it. It's been going for years, and I haven't been playing for.
That's
a
my
long time.
point. So my question is: are you part of that 6 million active monthly players? I don't know. I would assume yes.
No, well, it was
first.
I would assume. I think that's what they're counting them by. Is the active players. Is that not the number of actual players? Because there's a lot of people who have subscriptions that don't touch it for months and months at a time.
Here's another site that estimates that in the month of September, they had 116 million subscribers. That could not possibly be accurate, in my opinion. And they've got about 8 million active players.
It's hard to say. There's a lot of servers all over the world. WoW is a very big game. That's the competition. Now, that's just years and years and years and years of being the top MMO has allowed them to come with whatever the numbers are, very large numbers. They're down quite a bit from what they used to be. But I think with this, if this can continue, for instance, in chat, Jonesy is saying if they don't keep a stream of new content coming, he thinks they'll lose players. But PH is pointing out, there's some different aspects to this that most MMOs don't cover. So this is something kind of, I haven't gotten to the late games. I'm trying not to look too far ahead because I don't want to spoil it for myself. But I would say, first of all, the way that they do the PvP is very different than anything I've seen in an MMO yet. Not that I've done it, but I've had it. I'm getting to the levels where I'll start to be able to do it. But they have it to where there's some sort of a battle between other factions because you pick a faction in the game, and then you're competing. And so I haven't done it yet, but I think that for that that's very different than what we've seen from anything like WoW or any other serious competitors to it. And if they keep coming up with things like this that because everybody's base is what an MMO is supposed to be on WoW. They say, that's, and that's what in their mind what an MMO is. I think here they have the opportunity to change that because WoW has a very old version of what an MMO could be or is. Technology just changed so much. So we have a lot of real-time things that we could do now and just cool stuff that we could do in this type of an environment that the technology behind WoW and those other MMOs are too old to handle. So I think that sets this up for a pretty good place.
I'd have to agree.
And then if you go to, how Amazon Prime, they have their giveaways. Currently, they have some skins. So if you want to get some free skins, go check out Amazon's Prime Gaming things now. So they have the Pirate Pack 1 and Pirate Pack 2. Pirate Pack 1 is for everybody. Anybody who has the game can get that. The Pirate Pack 2, I think, is for people that have Amazon Prime.
Cool.
And they'll be releasing some more. Other than that, they're working on server transfers, and I'm actually going to be playing, I think, with some people that listen to the podcast, but I'm kind of waiting for the server transfers just so I don't have to start over. So I'll be doing a server transfer, moving to whatever server, but they're working on some, what they call as edge case problems with that. A lot of people are mad, saying, oh, you said you're going to do server transfers. Well, they're fixing a problem and then they'll release it. It's Amazon. I'm not highly concerned that they're not going to fix this. This is not Daybreak. I'm going to give them a chance, so this will be the interesting thing. A lot of employees from Daybreak, are now at Amazon. It'll be interesting to see if the culture of the company makes that much of a difference in how the game is produced. Another side effect that's been happening is players have been, because there's wars against, factions or whatever they are. The players are getting other players banned so that they win these wars. The wars go on for a period of time. So they all report, they get them banned for a week, and then they win the war because their players can't compete. Right. So they're figuring out little issues like that.
Nothing wrong with that. That's called thinking smart. Meta. Yeah, that's very meta. That's called, yeah, very much so. I like that. Some mass reporting individuals that you want to beat.
So these clans, it sounds like something that would happen at H1Z1. It's like all
sounds like
coming
something
back.
I would do. Yeah.
So that's how they're getting like the people that they're worried about competing against in the other teams, off the teams temporarily. And then also there's, people are scamming other people out of gold. So you just got to be careful if you are playing, be smart, don't just give your gold to everybody. Whatever methods and things that they're trying to do, just be careful. I'm looking forward to playing some more. I kind of just been playing the last couple of days because I got that issue figured out on my computer. But it's a good price. There's a lot of content. I'm still like under level 20, so I've got a ways to go. And there's a lot of people playing. It feels full all the time. It always feels like there's something to do. So I am happy so far. I'll keep trying it, keep playing a little bit here and there. And, if I hit a complaint, I'll let you know. But I don't really have any big complaints. Other than, the complaints that I had, as I said, were from it crashing, which was my system. Not a crash after that. So it's been good.
Excellent. Well, there it is. New World. Once I'll probably pick it up for $30 if it ever goes on sale.
You could get the non-deluxe one, because all you get is a couple skins from it and some other. It's not really a big deal.
I think I'd spend $30 on the game. At $40, I don't think so. Just right now, I don't think.
Well, and with no subscription fee, why not?
Yeah,
because you can jump in, play with some friends for a little while. You can jump in, play with for a little bit here and there, slowly get your character up. And what's the difference? You're not having to pay a monthly fee, so you don't have to rush.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll check it out at some point.
All right, let's go do a few updates about the whole Epic versus Apple decision that was made.
Yeah, what you got?
So Google is now countersuing Epic using the arguments from from Apple's core arguments.
Oh, geez.
So Google says Epic's mainly after tremendous monetary gain and wealth. Well, Isn't that what they're after with the 30%? Isn't that the point? When you take 30% of everybody's transactions, that's after tremendous monetary gain and wealth.
Brian, can you believe that you talk about the pot calling the kettle black? I mean, Google is one of the most
greediest
shady,
companies,
greediest, profit-heavy company, which I don't have a problem with, but that's quite the ballsy statement to make against Epic. Give us some details. What exactly is going on with it?
All right, so the countersuit, and it's you have to kind of look at it with the various other legal issues. They say, around this, they say centers around Project Liberty, a 2020 scheme whereby Epic added alternate payment methods to Android and iOS. So that's what kind of kicked all this off, and then sued Google and Apple, and then launched that PR campaign. So that kind of set this whole thing up where we're at right now. Then we had the judgments here last week that are currently being appealed by both Epic and Apple, which is funny. Both sides are appealing the verdict because I guess one won 9 and one won one big one. Epic won one big thing, and then I think Apple won 9. Decisions or small decisions.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, I mean the big one Apple's going after the verdict wise is that they have to allow those third-party stores. Apple doesn't want that.
Yeah, and so that's what kind of triggered this whole thing, and got it to where Apple sued and all this, and now Google is countersuing. So, according to here, I'm going to read a quote. It says, "Not satisfied with those immense Android profits, it entered into a legal agreement with Google with which they never intended to comply, deceiving Google and concealing its true intentions to provoke a legal and public relations confrontation that continues to this day." That's what they're saying the whole point was.
They're saying that's what the whole point of Epic was?
What was doing that, to try to provoke this and to initiate this thing happening. Not, that's why they did it. And this is something that I don't know, that you could say that, but it did trigger this. There was a decision, and now Apple has to put alternate payment methods, the exact thing that they're saying was, a scheme, is now legally something that they're going to be doing. So it doesn't really make it a negative thing, right? That's the court said, yes, you have to do this. Exactly what they're saying Google just did, or Epic just did, right? They're acting like, oh, that's sneaky. The courts just said you have to put alternate payment options in Apple.
Let me ask you this. Yes. Let me ask you this. And because Jonesy says an interesting thing in chat. He says, Epic signed a contract, case closed. Epic is in the wrong even if what they want is good. Do you think Tim Sweeney has bit off more than he can chew with this. I understand what he was fighting for and fighting after, but I can imagine.
I think making an alternate payment method is it. That's enough.
But that, at least as of right now, stands on the Apple side. But
yeah,
being sued by Apple and being set by Google. Apple and Google are two of the largest technology companies in the world. Epic is a large company, don't get me wrong, but they don't even hold a candle to Apple and Google. I mean, they're not even a 100th of the size of a Google or an Apple. I mean, it's just not even comparable.
Well,
I'm not sure that Tim Sweeney wants to continue down this road. This is going to be a very costly road
I think
for
they're
Epic.
going to be.
And if he in fact has signed
more calculated. Well, they need to just go to court and not break the contracts, but go to court.
But that's the problem. They break the contracts and then go to court, and then that's why they lost literally all of their decisions besides one.
Well, and the thing is, he already broke the contract, so that's done.
Yeah.
I think they should settle on that breaking of the contract and whatever else. But I think they all should say we would like to amend the contract and use precedents of the Apple versus Epic case. And say we want to be able to have alternate, and then go to court with them on that, because you've set precedents. You can win that. Imagine having 30% wiped off the table and being able to use your own payment providers inside the store, inside of your application.
Yeah,
that alone I think was worth the battle, and that's going to set it to where I think we're going to finally see the 30% fee start to go away, because the only people that are charging a 30% fee is closed systems. Somewhere with a closed system where they don't give you any options to do anything else are the only places that charge these kind of fees.
Sony, Microsoft,
and I think
Apple,
that they'll be able to prove that. Yes. And these are all closed systems and they're all monopolies. I think in the end, if he continues down this path, I think it will work out. I think that he could get some of the things that are beneficial for the consumer, like the smaller credit card transactions.
I wonder if, because the whole monopoly argument is where this all goes around. And obviously Epic is a large enough company where they can fight some of this stuff. But I wonder at a certain point if others start, if Tim Sweeney builds a, coalition of these companies to go after, if there would be any more ground there. I mean, if in fact a court does rule one of these companies a monopoly, it will be, if you're interested in looking at something, go back and look at the AT&T or the Bell system being broken up by the federal government. That was a technology changing decision that was made on a legal side. It drastically changed telecommunications in the United States at the time. And it's not something that's lightly done, and it has significant business impacts through and through. I mean, when AT&T was broken up by the federal government and had to split into these different systems and change the way that they operated, it was a big freaking deal.
Yeah, and I think if they continue on this path, as you suggested, I think them partnering up with some of the other biggest payers on the market, people that like, because I would say Epic Fortnite was one of the biggest payers. One of the biggest ones that brought income in for the Play Store at the time. And so, to Apple's store. And so I think if they can get the top, 5 of those to say, hey, let's get together, let's make a statement and say, we don't think it's fair, and start moving down that path as a coalition of people. Yes. But them going individually like this, I think is not a great idea for them. I think there's too much PR, negative things, and just people not liking individual companies. But if you went to the top 5 and say, hey, we as a group feel that this is unfair, I think people would start to listen. People just don't listen to Epic because, they're like, oh, they got so much money. What's the difference? But I just think I don't think it's fair, especially to the smaller developers where they don't have very large windows of money coming in. They just don't have a lot of, their sales are a lot lower. They don't have all the microtransactions. That's what's 30% is killing those people, not the Epics, not the other big people on the market. That's why I care less about the big guys getting it. For the small app developers, they're trying to pay all their licensing fees and pay all their employees to get their first couple games out. Those are the people that 30% is killing companies. and I'd prefer to see it go out for that reason, not because I think Epic doesn't. It's I'm glad they're doing it for the other people, but I just know I've costed out how much it takes to release something on platforms, and it's quite a bit. That 30% cuts into a huge amount of everything else, compared to almost any other thing you're paying licensing fees on.
Yeah. Joshua in the chat, the developer behind Zera, says 30% is rough when you're free to play. Yeah, 30% on those small transactions, I'm sure, is very rough. Yeah, you're not talking about high cost transactions that are being dealt with.
And it's not costing Steam or whatever platform, the Play Store. It's not costing them extra resources to get an item in the store or unlocked in the game. By me getting that skin is not that. Why are they paying Google $5, for instance, out of a whatever fee for a cosmetic item in the game that's not costing their store a single penny to actually put into place?
Yeah,
that for me is it's strange. That doesn't make any sense. They should at least break it up for you're buying software but then everybody will be free to play with all. There's no real perfect way to do this, but I think if they just went to a more realistic 15%, cut it in half, people I think would be totally content with that.
Yeah,
because 12 is kind of like what I think people really want. 15% I think is where people would be content.
Yeah. So we'll continue to track the Epic versus Apple versus Epic versus Google versus the big guys here on the show. Brian, this is a pretty interesting.
And actually, sorry, one second. Joshua points out something really good, because this is what I think triggered it for Epic. If you look at remember Epic when they were talking about Fortnite about all the crazy fees when they were dealing with all these other countries, and Joshua's pointing out, he says when we scaled the GDP for their season pass at $2.99 in a lot of countries, that 30% is huge. And the amount of money they're actually getting in the end shrinks and things like that a lot of times. So that is, I think, is why Epic did it originally, because they were passing along fees to people because of the transactions in all these weird countries that were just ridiculous compared to anything you would do on your own market. So, and I don't know if they're locked into anything, but that I know they were trying to get to where they had better transaction fees in all these different countries they provide in. And that's probably an equal sized nightmare when you're trying to then deal with it in all these different stores as well.
Gotcha. This is an interesting headline, Brian, as we talk about some of the alleged bullying and harassment that goes on in online video games. Riot, aka Tencent, aka China, has disabled cross-team chat in League of Legends. So as of 11.21, that patch /all has been disabled for match-made queries. So no more
trolling. Yeah. Well, and they've really been cracking down. I mean, China is just on a strange path. And what's weird is their path that they're going down is they're not looking for money in it. They're actually doing things that are losing them money. One thing let's talk about really quickly, remember when I talked about the effeminate males, they're China banning effeminate males. Did we talk about it? I think we talked about it in the show.
I'm sure we did. Yeah.
Yeah. They're banning effeminate males and things with blurred moral boundaries. What are some games with blurred moral boundaries?
Every single game.
Well, all the VRs where your goal is to kill other people.
Yeah.
Things like that. Those are the kind of games that they're starting to slow down on. And that's going to be interesting because I feel like this is kind of a repeat with Daybreak where all these companies go all in on China. And I remember saying it on the show, China changes their rules on a whim. Why would you go and cater to them? Because when Daybreak started catering to them, I remember saying that was the craziest thing. Like, why? Because China changes their rules all the time. Here's a perfect example of that happening again. On here, you've got them deciding, okay, we don't want to have, so for instance, any game that has any gay romance or effeminate males will not clear inspection. And then they also said, if you can't tell the character's gender immediately, then it's going to be blocked. Any of the Japanese visual styles or anything that talks about religion is going to be blocked in China. You also have just these clampdowns with the times. They're slowing down. They're not totally blocking authorizations of video games, but they said that they're really slowing it down.
Very much so.
So
like cutting not in half, but like an eighth of what they were doing previously. Yes. A very significant drop.
And so this is just, it's a weird way that they're going. I'm not sure what all it means in the end, you know, whether they're kind of preparing for war or, you know, are they trying to get soldiers? Or they feel like this is taking away from their aggressive males that they want to use in the military? Like, I don't know what it is, but they're on some sort of a correction path. They don't like where their boys in the country are going. And so they're trying to kind of come up with this more manly, but this is kind of like the reason I say war, this is more like a war posture. You know, normally like you're trying to get like, everybody feel really manly and aggressive when you're going for a war posture. So it just makes me wonder if the countries, because they have been having these issues with Taiwan, if they're going to more of an aggressive stance. And that's why as a country as a whole, they're doing these steps. And it seems like they're still really trying to block out the outside. Plus they're, crumbling real estate market. China in a year is going to be really interesting to see where they're at, because I think that they've just had so many things going on that I think are indicators of bigger things happening in China. So we'll definitely keep an eye on it, but that is something that they've also, talk about there. We have an article there talking about the stock losses from these decisions. The Tencent, the huge loss that Tencent took as soon as these announcements were made, and any of these companies.
Yeah,
Tencent. So Tencent and NetEase alone lost over $60 billion US from that decision.
Oh yeah, I mean that's their whole. That's their video games is their thing.
Yep, and most of those they're that style of game, BRs and all this kind of stuff. They've guns. It's going to be tough to find a game that they're going to approve in China here that has any kind of guns or any kind of violence. It'll be interesting.
Which are all the fun
interesting
games.
To see. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see which ones kind of sneak through or which ones actually make it.
Yeah. Well,
okay. Do you have a preference? So do you want to talk about this longer, or you want to talk about something else?
I want to round out with or not round out, but bring up GTA, because we talked about this a couple of weeks ago.
That's what I was going to say.
There was some leaks, some rumors about some Grand Theft Auto remasters and some older versions of Grand Theft Auto making their way back to the some of the older games making their way to the remaster status, and it is now officials confirmed by Rockstar. It's going to be called the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy, the Definitive Edition. They put out some tweets and some different videos that said coming soon, and it looks like with this it's going to continue with its open world genre-ness. It's going to be Grand Theft Auto, the 3 games that they're going to be remaking and re-releasing as part of this are Grand Theft Auto 3, GTA Vice City, and GTA San Andreas, of course, which are the more PS2 era style of Grand Theft Auto games. They're all going to be, I guess, bundled into one game known as the
all the current listings in Steam have gone away. So
really,
so all are going away at least. So they're going to delist every form of GTA game on there, and only you'll still have it. Like if you purchased it, you can still download it, install it. Yeah. But what they're doing is they're removing all of those, and then if you want in the old ones, you just buy the definitive edition. So like that trilogy one, they've already delisted that from Steam.
While I think this is great. I mean, I'm very much looking forward to a remaster. Some of the storylines in these games were really, really good, and they will be with the new engine and updated. My question for you, though, Mr. Brian, because this is what I have been wondering, is this going to just buy them a significant amount of time for GTA 6? Because
I think it will.
I would be shocked if a game that they have not put a release date on, coming soon, I can't imagine that we'd have GTA 6 in late 2022 or early 2023.
It might be a 2024. I think 2020. I think with this, they feel like they can get 2 years out of it at least. Because if you look at this right here, is going to have enhanced graphics. A lot of people are, because some of these ones, the first, of you've got 3 of them that the graphics are so old compared to what we're used to. I think a lot of it will just be worth playing again because it'll look so much. Well, I'm assuming it'll look so much better. I haven't seen screenshots of it yet.
Well, people like myself, I mean, I'm 24. Grand Theft Auto 3 came out when I was like 4 or 5. I mean, I didn't play Grand Theft Auto 3 when it came out. I went and then played it later on. But you're talking about...
I played it on the PlayStation or something like that a long time ago.
But so you're talking about a generation of video gamers from, call it 16 to 25 or 26, a decade's worth of gamers that were not really old enough or just did not play Grand Theft Auto 3 on release. For a lot of those people, it's going to be a completely brand new experience. They've never probably played GTA 3. I played it a little bit, but I spent a whole lot more time in Vice City and San Andreas. This is great. I don't know why it took them so long. I mean, again, Grand Theft Auto 5 came out in 2012? It's been nearly a decade since that game came out. I am shocked that this has taken so long to get to this point. I would have thought this would have been out 2 years ago. Maybe just because of the continued success of GTA 5, they just kept pushing it back and truly riding that train all the way off the tracks at the end. I'm continued to be amazed by the continued success of a game that is that old.
Yeah. Well, and it'll be interesting to see how much this changes it. And now the gameplay is supposed to have the same feel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And general look, but it doesn't have it's supposed to be remastered. So I'm kind of curious, how far did they go on the remastering? Does it just look a little bit better, cleaner, less rough, blocky edges like they used to have back then, where the faces were, rounded out, or is it going to be closer to GTA 5? That would be a lot of work. I don't know. I'm not sure how long they've been working on this. They could blow us out of the water and just have it be like just short of GTA 5 or GTA 5. I mean, you got to remember how old GTA 5 is.
I think that's what we're going to see. I think we're going to see very similar to GTA 5 graphics, which still hold up.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. If they can get a GTA 5 level, I'd be perfectly happy playing those 3 with that. Now, this is which ones are this? This is going to be Vice City,
3, Vice City, and San Andreas.
Okay. Yeah, and
which have
those
an incredible amount of story, and lore. Just all 3 of those are phenomenal games.
And so for me, I definitely will get it because I'll have a lot of fun playing through all those again, and especially with the updated graphics. It'll be fun. So that's going to be coming out. They did announce it. They've delisted. They started delisting all these things, so it's got to be coming out here pretty soon. Especially if they start delisting now.
Yeah.
And they have an announcement. If you're interested more, we have an announcement page. It's a Rockstar page that has a lot of details about it. So you can jump in, check it out. And they've got like a screenshot and things like that, or a picture. But I wasn't sure if that one was from inside. I assume it's from inside one of the remasters.
Which
I don't know.
You're looking at the picture.
Is that Vice City in the background?
You're looking at the picture.
So go to the one. The one that says for the announcement. Go to the very bottom. Yeah. What's that? Is that Vice City? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea. It could be. I'm not sure. I don't know.
So there you go. That I think that, with that, if that's how it looks, that's so much better than what Vice City looked like.
Yeah.
That's way closer to GTA 5. So I'd be fine with that.
Yeah. So this is exciting. Grand Theft Auto is a phenomenal series.
Yeah, and I think that for this will be a good opportunity for your generation and even younger to play some of these games for the first time, because most of them, they just look too old. They don't want to go play a game that looks like that. It's nothing from their generation. For me, I even go back and look at those and I'm like, I don't want to play this again. I remember it being a lot better,
Well, yeah,
especially EverQuest. That was one of the things that shocked me. It's like, I went and played EverQuest again. It's like, oh, this thing is horrible.
I think I've got GTA 3 on the PS2, or maybe it's San Andreas, and the movement in those in the game is just rough. It's just the movement is just rough, and obviously they will
fix all that,
fix some of that stuff now that we have progressed nearly 20 years since those games came out. It's a little bit easier to handle things like movement and whatnot. So very excited to see that.
And then. Yeah, I think other than that, I think it'll be interesting to see when they release it. We're coming up, it's October. I assume this is going to be maybe a Christmas thing. I think that's probably what they're going to be pushing for, is get a lot of sales for Christmas or something.
There's
no
I don't
console.
think so.
I mean,
I don't
you don't think so? You're just going to release it, or what?
And let me tell you why. It says later this year on their post. It says, in honor of the upcoming anniversary today, we are excited to announce that all 3 games will be coming to the current generation platforms later this year in Grand Theft Auto, the Trilogy, the Definitive Edition. But they just released the video this week, and it says coming soon. It's already October.
Yeah.
How do they not have it later this year, Brian? We have less than 2 full months left in the year.
Here's an indicator. The Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition will be coming to iOS and Android in the first half of 2022. So it's got to be before. It's got to be before
that,
the end of this year.
But yeah. I know, but I just it's odd to me that you would say coming soon when it's the middle of October.
I know this is kind of a weird.
That's
why I'm wondering what their date.
How do you not have your release date? Like, realistically, if this game's coming out in the next 45 days, which realistically would be later this year, how do you not have your release date already? That's what I'm not sure about. And it is cool. It'll be coming on PC as well as the Nintendo Switch, which will be cool. I definitely am going to buy this on the Switch. That GTA on the Switch, I think, would be a boatload.
Oh yeah,
of
that's
fun.
true. I should.
I'll get it on the PC too. I'll buy, of course, I'll buy 17 copies of it because I'm a sucker.
Because that's what happens.
I have a feeling that this on the Switch would be very cool.
Yeah, I've got to remember to pull out my Switch and charge it.
Yeah, you got to be careful where you're pulling out for a while. Got to be careful where you're pulling out your Switch, Brian. You can get yourself in some some legal troubles with that.
This isn't Vegas.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we're at our hour-long mark. Is there anything else you want to get into before we roll out of here?
No, I think the rest of it we can save for next week.
All right. Well, I'll ask you this, Brian. Where can people find you on the internet?
All right. Well, if you want to find me, you can get me at Brian Aldridge on Gab and Parler. If you want to check out my blog, biteoftech.com. And of course, go to infectionpodcast.com, and on the right-hand side, join our server on Discord. That way you can maybe play some New World or come hang out, suggest some topics for the show. A lot of great things you can do there. If you want to watch the video forms of the podcast, we got YouTube, Twitch, BitChute, and DLive. We also have all the audio forms on the lower right-hand side if you want to go check those out for whatever platform device you may be using. If you want to catch some of our pre and post shows, we do have a link on the website that you can go and view some of those. If you want to follow along, maybe you're listening to the podcast on a device and you have access to browse pages while you're doing that, while you're listening, feel free to jump on one of our particular episodes, click the links, and you'll see we have everything that we discuss and we're looking at while we're doing the show, you have access to. We put every link in there. If you want to support us, you can do that by going to the support tab up top. We got infectionpodcast.com/support, Prime Gaming subs, Humble Bundle, all the things we've listed before, and Subscribe Star. So if you're interested in those, go check out our website and make sure you join us next week. And also, I'm interested for people that have been playing New World. That'd be a great opportunity if you can come in. There's a number of different channels you can give some feedback on. Jump into our Discord and just kind of give your perspective of what draws you to New World, or what maybe even what you do not like about New World. I think because I'm really interested to get, because I'm a WoW guy coming into New World, so everything is kind of pointed that direction. I want to hear other people's perspectives on it, and what they like and what they're really taking to. So,
well, if you want to be an old schooler, Brian, you can send us an email. If you're Discord, so you can send us an email. Contact at infectionpodcast.com. If you have any issues with the show, and want to give some constructive criticism, you can always email Brian at Infection Podcast as well. He's more than
thank
his,
you. That's
his inbox is more than willing and able to accept your comments, criticisms.
Yes, thank you.
Even if it's something about me, just email
Always
Brian.
looking for criticism and critiques.
Yes, Brian at infectionpodcast.com. Brian, as always, thanks. Appreciate you being flexible on the day this week, and we will catch up with you next Tuesday.
All right, we'll see you later.
Alrighty, folks. Well, that is going to do it. Well, before we get out of here, I want to thank a few individuals, including our friend Unicorn Joe, USAF Zombie, and Tag Durante, all for hitting us up with resubscriptions here during the live program. If you missed any portion of the show, you can visit our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. My name is Nick Craig. Check out my podcast, Wilmington's Morning News. We have show notes, links, all of that fun stuff, all on our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next Tuesday. Have a good one.